Next topic today gets sent into us, and this is going to be interesting. The next topic today gets sent into us by Darren Friesen, who writes, "Greetings, John. So with China opening up their theaters again, and with Avatar and the Avengers movies again, so the Chinese theaters are open again with Avatar and the Avengers movies, as well as a number of others, by the way. And with Endgame only being $10 million ahead of Avatar for the biggest box office of all time, and people haven't seen Avatar on the big screen in like a decade, Forbes is saying Avatar could take back the all-time record from Endgame. Do you think that will happen?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yet there's a lot of interesting sub-stories in this. Number one, China is reopening their theaters again. I think they said 600 or 700 locations are going to be reopening their theaters. So that's one thing. On top of all that, there's not a lot of new movies to open because a lot of movies have been bumped, so they're going to try to get people back in the theaters by releasing some of the favorites. They're going to be releasing the 4 Avengers films, or is it 5? No, 4 Avengers films at this point. They're going to release a number of Chinese big blockbusters, and they're going to be re-releasing Avatar, which for the longest time was the all-time box office record holder, including in China for a time as well. So what we're getting out of Forbes is a really interesting story on this. Forbes is pointing out that with Avengers and Avatar both opening up, there could be a possibility. Look, we all knew at some point Avatar was going to pass Endgame again. That's just what's going to happen. Avatar will pass Endgame at some point because we all know that Disney is going to re-release Avatar at some point nationwide as a part of promoting and building up the excitement for Avatar 2. We've all known that. We've all talked about that forever. It's something we've all been expecting. And at that point, it would cross Endgame. Then at some point, the 5th anniversary of Endgame special release will happen, and Endgame will retake the lead, and they're probably going to play this virtual game of hopscotch throughout the ages. Anyway, so they point this out that with China re-releasing and opening up their theaters with these films again, it could happen sooner rather than later. In one interesting paragraph in the Forbes article, they put this: "I always expected an eventual reissue of Avatar in order to promote next year's, fingers crossed, Avatar 2, we've all been expecting that, to put it back on top, take back the number 1 position at the box office. But A, I didn't expect it this soon, and B, I certainly didn't expect a concurrent reissue of its box office rival. Avatar is just $10.361 million behind Avengers Endgame. On one hand, you've got the biggest Chinese export of all time by a lot. Fate of the Furious 7 earned $391 million in 2015 and 2017 respectively, coming back to theaters at the end of a months-long blackout period. On the other hand, you have a movie that shattered box office records a generation ago with a reissue giving an entirely new demographic, especially if this expands to major chains, the chance to see it again on the big screen." This to me is a fascinating question because there are some things to go back and forth on this. Number one, Avatar and Endgame are both hitting the Chinese theaters like 600 screens at the same time. Endgame is outrageously popular, and outrageously popular specifically in China, right? Outrageously popular in China. So there's all that. On the other hand, everybody just saw Endgame on the big screen. It really wasn't long ago. It was just a breath ago that we all saw Avatar on the big screen. And it's on all types of streaming services right now. Everybody has probably seen Endgame right now, probably about a dozen times in one way, shape, or form. Compounding that, Avatar is a movie that a lot of people in our small little online, movie circles, a lot of people look at it and think, nobody cares about that. But we're wrong. We're wrong. A huge chunk of the average movie-going audience does care about Avatar, despite the fact that I really don't care about it that much. I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching maybe don't care about it that much, but a lot of people do. And the fact that it hasn't been on the big screen in ages and ages and ages. And as they point out in Forbes, it has been, in movie terms, like an entire generation has never seen Avatar on the big screen. I've always believed that at some point, Aaron, Disney was going to take Avatar, re-release it to promote Avatar 2. That's a no-brainer. They're going to do that, and it will pass Endgame. it could very well do it now, because if it only has, like, some say it's about 40 or 50 million behind, some say it's about 5 million behind, Forbes is saying it's about 10.36 million behind, whatever. If all Avatar has to do is outperform Endgame, a movie that everybody just saw on the big screen and probably has at home right now, by about 10 million bucks, honestly, I think it's like 50-50. I think there is a legit, maybe 40% chance, but a legitimate chance that we could see Avatar take back the all-time box office title right now, and then extend that lead when they re-release for Avatar 2, and then somewhere down the line, Endgame has its anniversary. But I don't know. With all those dynamics in play, do you think that Avatar in this Chinese re-release could hopscotch Endgame? Or do you think Endgame might actually extend its lead over Avatar with this incredible popularity? How do you think it's going to work out?
I do think that Avatar has a great opportunity to take the lead position on this, because, as was pointed out, you have a generation of people who fell in love with the film when it was initially released.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who haven't seen the movie. So you're going to have people going and seeing it again to have the nostalgia of the first time they saw it, bringing with them younger people who haven't seen it, who will be able to experience it for the first time. And I love this competition, the friendly competition that these two projects have with one another, where the directors are encouraging one another and saying, hey, I hope that you do overtake me, because then I'll just come back and, hopscotch over you and whenever we do our re-release. These are sort of those $1 million problems, that we can have in the film industry. Billion dollar problems, exactly. And I think that this is a wonderful boost of, coming off of this terrible economic situation that we've been in. This is a great conversation to have, and I'm so happy that that China is in a position to be able to bring people back to the movie theaters. And I think it's going to give a lot of people hope for what's going to be coming down the road.
What do you think about, this is interesting to me, because what do you think about this? A lot of people are asking, Quiet Place 2 was bumped. It was supposed to come out last week. And a lot of people ask, do you think when the movie theaters open, Quiet Place will be front in line? And I said, probably not, because Quiet Place is going to want to ramp up a marketing campaign.
Right, exactly.
What do you think about the strategy of them taking some big, beloved, older films and relaunching the theaters with those? Do you think they should be rolling out with smaller new films, or do you like the idea of going with the big, loved films?
We need to get people back in the theaters, and to make sure that people know that it's safe, that theaters are open for business, that they can go and sit in a theater and feel comfortable and not be worried about getting sick or anything being dangerous about going to the theater. And what better way to do that than to bring back a beloved film that people are going to want to see on the big screen as it was intended. Starting with a slow rollout of films that maybe have a little bit of interest, maybe people are sort of on the fence about. If it's a film that someone is looking at going, I'll just watch it when it's streaming, then that's not going to get people excited and interested in going back to the theaters. And once we have people going back to the movies and saying, oh yeah, I went to the movies, I didn't get sick, everything's fine, business is booming, then it'll just encourage that behavior to continue on.
Well, guys, I think this is, like I said, I think this is a fascinating topic, because there's so many things. Putting old things in. Avatar versus Endgame. One was just in theaters. One, maybe a whole ton of people haven't seen it on the big screen yet. If I had to put $50 down on it, if I had to put $50 down, and I was forced, I wouldn't want to put any money on this, but if I was forced to put $50 down, I think right now I would probably put the 50 on Endgame keeping the lead, but I wouldn't feel comfortable, because I honestly think there's more of a chance that Avatar may overtake it right now than a lot of people are thinking. Again, if I had to put $50 on it, I put it on Endgame still being in the lead at this point, but when this is done. But I'm telling you, I think there is a more legitimate chance than people are considering. So it's going to be interesting to see. Question is, guys, I wanted to make that the question of the day for you guys, and I wanted to ask you. And the question of the day I simply put to you guys was simply this. With both Avatar and Endgame returning to theaters in China and being so close, do you think Avatar will retake the all-time box office lead? And right now, only 27, which honestly, that's a bigger number than I thought. Honestly, I thought only like 5% of you guys would think this, but 27.3% of you are saying, yes, Avatar will overtake Endgame right now in the Chinese re-release. 72.7% of you guys are saying no, it won't. I put up this poll just before the show started. A little over 1,600 of you guys have replied. I'll leave that poll up there. You can find it on my Twitter, simply at John Campea. I'll leave that poll up there for you guys to debate a little bit more. But again, I get if I had to put 50 on it, yes, I think Endgame keeps it. But I'm just telling you, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Avatar jumps up and takes it. Okay, guys, with that stuff down and out of the way.